Layoffs are happening within the Chicago Public School District. District leaders are blaming a budget gap of more than $700 million.
America, we just got hit with a bombshell story that perfectly illustrates everything wrong with Democrat priorities. Chicago Public Schools just announced that they're laying off more than 1,400 teachers and staff members, including 432 teachers and 677 special education classroom assistants. But here's what's going to make you pissed off. While they're firing teachers, Chicago has spent hundreds of millions of dollars on illegal migrants, including $9,000 per migrant for rental assistance alone.
Chicago Public Schools just announced it's laying off more than 1,400 school-based employees. This includes 432 teachers and 677 special ed classroom assistants.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This is the perfect example of how Democrat leadership destroys American communities while prioritizing illegal immigrants over American children. They're literally firing special education teachers while handing out thousands of dollars to people who shouldn't even be in this country. Let me break down these absolutely devastating numbers for you. Chicago Public Schools is facing a $734 million budget deficit, and their solution is to fire people who actually educate American children. Here's what they're cutting: 432 teachers from the Chicago Teachers Union. 103 of those are special education teachers, 677 special education classroom assistants. That's way more than the 404 special education assistants that they cut last year.
CPS says this is part of its annual workforce planning and budgeting process. Historically, the district says more than 80% of impacted employees have secured new positions within CPS prior to the start of the school year.
Now they're trying to spin this as annual workforce planning, but let's be real, this is a crisis, and it's happening on top of the city's separate $1.14 billion annual deficit that Mayor Brandon Johnson is running.
The city of Chicago already dealing with a massive budget gap this year of almost $1 billion, and now Mayor Brandon Johnson is warning the problem is not going away next year or even the year after.
So we're talking about nearly $2 billion in combined deficits while they're firing teachers and special education staff. But somehow they found money for migrants. Now here's where it gets absolutely infuriating. While Chicago is firing 1,400 school employees, they've been spending massive amounts of money on illegal migrants. The city put $4 million toward migrant housing assistance. The state added $38 million, and they're paying up to $9,000 per migrant for rental assistance.
State is footing the bill for what they call temporary housing, apartments and homes that are rented out for migrants. The state is paying on the high end $9,000 in rental assistance over a 6-month period of time.
Did you catch that? Up to $9,000 per migrant. And that's just for 6 months worth of rent. They're getting up to $99,000 in total assistance. Meanwhile, they're firing special education teachers who help American children with disabilities.
With that comes help moving in and a starter kit to furnish the apartment.
That rent lasts for 6 months, and ideally people would have started their legal process, secured legal work authorization, and then be able to sustain that apartment.
They're basically giving migrants starter kits to furnish apartments while American children lose their teachers. The city has received more than 15,000 migrants since August 2022 alone, and 30% of them are children who are now attending Chicago public schools. This is just adding to the burden while they cut the staff.
We have no more room. Y'all are embarrassing Chicago as a whole.
According to analysis by the ABC7 data team, there are more than 20 active migrant shelters across the city.
So what does Mayor Brandon Johnson do when confronted with this disaster? He blames everyone but himself. Listen to this pathetic excuse.
So I'm going to put forth a budget and a vision that reflects our investments in workforce, housing.
Did you hear that? He's talking about investments in the workforce and housing while firing 1,400 school employees. Gracias, gracias, gracias. Pandering to the Latino community while destroying education for all Chicago children. The Chicago Teachers Union is now begging the state for help, calling on Pritzker to bail them out. But here's what the CTU president had to say about the cuts.
These cuts are severe as they are perverse, and we won't let it stand, and neither should a governor, especially one that wants to fight these Trump attacks on working families.
We're not just reducing staff, we're removing the lifelines for some of the most marginalized students in our classroom.
Removing lifelines for marginalized students while they're giving lifelines worth of thousands of dollars to illegal immigrants. The hypocrisy is absolutely staggering.
Please do not balance the budget on the back of kids with disabilities.
They're literally balancing the budget on the backs of disabled children while funding migrant housing. This is what Democrat priorities look like in action. Now they're trying to blame President Trump for their budget crisis. The CTU claims Trump is withholding $6 billion in federal education grants. But let's be honest about what's really happening here.
The early morning news conference comes as the Trump administration recently notified states that it's withholding more than $6 billion in federal education grants for schools. The previously approved funding was set to help pay for after-school programming, student support services, teacher training.
Trump is withholding federal money from sanctuary cities that refuse to cooperate with immigration enforcement. Chicago chose to be a sanctuary city. Chicago chose to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on illegal migrants. And now Chicago wants to blame Trump when there's consequences. Meanwhile, Johnson is joining the lawsuit against Trump's immigration enforcement.
To know that there are people that are coming together, whether it's Los Angeles, Chicago, and other places around the country that are pushing back against this authoritarian government, there's hope there.
He's calling Trump authoritarian while firing teachers to fund illegal migrants. The cognitive dissonance is incredible here. Here's how pathetic this has gotten. They're now holding community meetings asking regular citizens to solve their budget crisis. The new interim CEO, Dr. King, is literally begging the community for ideas.
We have not engaged our stakeholders in the fullest over the years, and this is an opportunity to find out what might actually be out there as an innovative solution.
Innovative solutions from the community? How about this for an innovative solution? Stop spending hundreds of millions of dollars on illegal migrants and use that money for American children's education instead.
Our priority is protecting the classrooms. That is first and foremost.
While the Chicago Teachers Union and CTU-backed school board members are adamantly against cuts in schools, Dr. King says closing the budget hole will take a combination of solutions, possibly new revenue, cuts, and borrowing.
Protecting classrooms by firing 1,400 school employees. New revenue means higher taxes on residents who are already fleeing the city. Borrowing means more debt for future generations to pay off. The most powerful moment in all of this came from the South and West Side residents who were finally speaking out against this absolute insanity.
These South and West Side homeowners are angry. They believe the city has overextended itself and should be putting the tens of millions of dollars earmarked for migrants into Chicago's most vulnerable neighborhoods.
These are people who have been abandoned by Democrat leadership for decades, and now they're watching their tax dollars go to illegal immigrants while their children lose their teachers.
But the South Side has been under-resourced, underfunded for years, for decades. We have schools that need to be reopened. We have buildings that are abandoned that need to be business operated.
We are taxpayers. We are property owners. Our money should go towards fixing our community, but instead it goes to migrants who shouldn't even be here.
Mayor Johnson, the black aldermen, the black alderwomen in this city, you will stand for the black citizens of Chicago.
This is what happens when Democrat politicians care more about virtue signaling than serving their actual constituents. America, this story perfectly encapsulates everything wrong with Democrat governance. They fire 1,400 teachers and school staff, including special education workers who help disabled children, while spending hundreds of millions of dollars on illegal migrants who shouldn't even be in our country. Chicago is running a $734 million school deficit and a $1.14 billion city deficit, but somehow they found $42 million for migrant housing assistance. They're giving individual migrants up to $9,000 for 6 months of of rent while American children lose their teachers. The South and West Side residents who have been loyal Democrat voters for decades are finally waking up and demanding that their tax dollars go to American communities instead of illegal migrants. But Mayor Brandon Johnson would rather join the lawsuit against Trump than fix his own city's problems. This is what happens when you elect Democrats who care more about illegal immigrants than American children, who prioritize virtue signaling over education, who would rather blame Trump than take responsibility of their own failures. This is exactly why Trump won, because Americans are tired of watching their tax dollars go to illegal migrants while their own communities crumble. Let me know what you guys think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.